Welcome to La Chaîne Géopolitique. Welcome to all viewers of La Chaîne Géopolitique. So if you like learning any geopolitical news, please subscribe to this channel. Every day we try to talk about any geopolitical news that arise from the news, and the purpose of this channel is really to expand, to go further than just let's say the headlines. So today we will talk about the latest developments, the latest tit for tat between Russia and the European Union, and we will raise this question: where could the confrontation between the European Union and Russia could go? So we will try to answer to this question in this video. So Russia announced during on Friday, during the visit of the European Union envoy, the representative of the Foreign Affairs for the European Union, Mr. Josep Borrell, that 3 diplomats coming from Germany, Poland, and Sweden will be expelled from Russia as in violation due to that those 3 diplomats violated the Vienna Convention on diplomats from 1963 due to that the fact that they attended a non-allowed gathering on 23rd of January. However, those diplomats answered that they attended, indeed, they admit it, but they said that they just wanted to collect information and they not actively attended those gatherings. Despite those claims from diplomats, they will be expelled. And today, those 3 concerned countries will, as announced, who has been affected by those expulsion, those departure from their diplomats from Russia, will also expel Russian diplomats. So 3 Russian diplomats will be expelled, one from Poland, one from Sweden, and one from Germany over the next days as a retaliation for the decision of Russia. But what has been also particularly humiliating for the European Union diplomacy is that the fact that this news, this announcement, has been made exactly when Mr. Borrell arrived in Moscow. So actually, from the European Union perspective, it's clearly an humiliation. Clearly, it could not be a worse timing for announcing such such a decision from Russia, and that's why the European Union is wondering what exactly the policy of Russia. Where do they want to lead their confrontation, their diplomatic confrontation towards the European Union? And that's why the European Union realized after such a decision from Russia that they have to lead a very tough stance toward Russia, and that's why the idea of a new additional sanction against Russia is again arisen in the European circle due to the fact that they realize that it's needed to get a tougher stance on Russia. But the question is which sanction could be add to Russia. We know that there are existing a lot sanctions against Russia due to the annexation of Crimea, and very tough sanctions have been imposed on Russia. But now the European Commission would like to discuss further sanctions. So the most, an idea that came up to the mind of the European diplomat is the fact to sanction the pipeline between Russia and Germany, the Nord Stream 2, which has been 95% completed. So we see that is very close to be completed. So now the question is, will the European Commission will prevent this pipeline from being fully completed and fully operational? And the answer is really uncertain due to the fact that the German Chancellor Angela Merkel is very adamant to keep maintaining this pipeline, despite that the fact she is still very critical of the human rights violation policy of Russia. So from one hand, she condemns, she employs very strong words against Russia, but from the other hand, she wants still to keep economic ties and projects, let's say energy projects between Russia and Germany. So we see that it's not sure that the Nord Stream 2 will that European sanction will be in place on the Nord Stream 2. I just remind to the viewers that there are actually American sanctions on the Nord Stream 2 because Americans are much more determined than European to prevent this project from being completed. But despite those US sanctions, the project has continued due to the fact that the Russian companies ignoring the US sanctions have continued the project, especially Gazprom, the state-owned company. As it is a state-owned company, they are not afraid, you can imagine, of US sanctions. So Gazprom has continued the workload to complete this project and to deliver, hopefully, for Russian some gas to Germany very soon. Actually, there are already Russian gas to Germany because there is a Nord Stream 1, but the idea is just to double the delivery of gas to Germany very shortly. So we will see whether sanctions will be imposed on Nord Stream 2. That's not sure because of the attitude of Chancellor Merkel, but also if we think about any additional sanction against Russia, it's worth recalling that the unanimity rule is required, meaning that we need to get the consent of the 27 EU member states. But we know that some of them are very close to Russia, entertain very good diplomatic relationship, like Hungary, from Prime Minister Viktor Orban, which has, I remind to our viewers, decided to go against the rest of the European Union by ordering 2 million doses of the Russian vaccine Sputnik V. So, and actually today, the Hungarian medication agency has approved the use of the Russian vaccine. And so now this Russian vaccine could be administered over the next days to the Hungarian patients based on their consent. So what we see, the question that we raise is, will Hungary allow further sanctions against Russia? That's now more and more uncertain due to the fact that if Russia has allowed to deliver vaccine to Hungary, it means also like Germany, that Hungary will be captive probably of Russia, and that its independence will be, if you like, undermined. Its ability, let's say, to be critical of Russia will be undermined due to this delivery of the Russian vaccine. So we see that the European Union is clearly do not have one clear policy due to the fact that many European EU member states have clearly very different, a lot of discrepancies in terms of foreign policy, in terms of energy policy, and that results in the fact that they are not able to get the unanimity about sanctions against Russia. So we can raise some doubts that the European Union will be able to raise a new sanction against Russia. Also, but the tension between Russia and the Western world are not just are not just limited to the European Union. There are also very fierce tension between also the United States and the Russian Federation, especially with the new US newly elected President Joe Biden, who is much more critical of the Russian policy than his predecessor. So President Biden had his first call with President Putin last week, and he signaled a very tougher stance on many foreign policy issues, like on Ukraine, where he used the word aggression against Ukraine from Russian separatists, and also he talked about the cyber attack which has occurred in November against, let's say, some major US companies and US public administration, like the US Ministry of Defense. So he adopted a very tough stance on that topic. But at the same time, they agreed, both leaders, President Putin and President Biden, about to, let's say, to continue the New START deal, which I recall to the viewers that it limits the two powers to a maximum of 1,550 deployed nuclear warheads for each country. So this treaty was supposed to expire on February 5th, but both parties agreed to continue this agreement beyond this deadline. So basically, what we see, it's clearly there is now a very clear confrontation. So this confrontation has always existed between Russia and the Western world, but probably this time it's much more acute, much more clear, much more serious, and this confrontation could go much further than what it is right now, due to the fact that for Russia, the European Union, I quote the foreign ministry spokesman, interferes in the internal affairs of Russia. That's the statement of Maria Zakharova, the spokeswoman from the foreign ministry. So we see that what the let's say the latest the whole attitude from the European Union, which condemned the fate of what happened to Alexei Navalny, and admitted that it is clearly that he suffered from an empoisonment from the Novichok, has been, let's say, felt by Russian authorities as clearly an attack. While as you probably know, the Russian authorities deny that it is an empoisonment. What happened to Alexei Navalny? They just don't. They are not clear how Mr. Navalny, let's say, nearly died. I mean, how he fainted, how he was in such a dire health situation. But for them, it's not an empoisonment. So the fact that the German authorities hosted Mr. Navalny, and after clearly publicly stated, like Mr. President Macron said, it was kind of like an assassination attempt to kill Mr. Navalny, has been felt as clearly as let's say clearly as an interference by the Russian authorities in their internal affairs. So clearly, what happened with the Navalny affair is clearly now as unfolded, let's say, on the relationship between Russia and the European Union. And as the EU chief envoy of the European Union Mr. Borrell said, the relationship between Russia and the European Union is at a record at the lowest level never seen since the end of the Soviet Union, and still those deterioration could go further, because we see that each party is determined, let's say, to to defend, let's say, their interests, to defend human rights, and from the European Union and from the Russian perspective, they will defend, let's say, what they can see as an existential threat from the European Union on the Russian power. So we see a lot of febrility, a lot of weakness from the Russian authorities due to the, I quote, the interference of the European authorities, and we will see how this, whether the European Union will continue to criticize Russia, and how Russia will answer to that, will retaliate to any further, I quote, interference from the European Union towards Russia.